This is Daniel Simon at Baton Rouge Community College, and this week I have another preview for History 1123, discussing weeks 9 through 11 for the semester. So right now, if you go to Canvas modules, predominantly weeks 9 to 11 are going to be on different topics. 19th century is going to be one of the main uh, sections I'll have, of course, during this part of the semester. You can see at the top the preview videos for week history 1123 will be put there. But you'll notice that kind of bring this down a little bit. You can see here that uh, predominantly 19th century Europe, parts 1 through 2, 1 and 2 there. Those will be on two major sections. One is post-Napoleon Europe. I'll kind of go into primarily what happens in some countries like Russia. You have, like, of course, 19th century Russia with the Russian Empire pretty much peaks during that time. Also, France goes through a series of revolutions that kind of change the country. Eventually, France has another empire they'll form, which is the Second French Empire under Emperor Napoleon III. But France will eventually go to a republic, and they'll, of course, stay that way. Part 2, I go into industrialization and the rise of socialism, which that starts as far back as close to like the 17th, 18th centuries. You see, like, industrialization start in Britain, it spreads to most of Europe and then the rest of the world. And then, of course, in the 19th century, you see the rise of socialism, like the ideas of, Karl Marx kind of come out, but communism doesn't really take off till the 20th century. So if you have any questions about history of 19th century Europe, parts 1 and 2, about any of the discussion sections, do check that out there on the bottom, because this section here is going to be later assessed on the second exam with French Revolution and, of course, the age of Napoleon. If you keep going down in week 9, I'll also have a bonus video quiz that I'll have, which is on the Franco-Prussian War. It's a documentary I want you to check out, which that's kind of an interesting documentary about the war between France and Prussia at the time, because that leads into like the French Empire under Napoleon III collapsing, and then you get, of course, the German Empire that'll emerge afterwards. So it's kind of considered a kind of an important event that happens in European history in the late 19th century. So that'll be for bonus points. You can see worth up to 20 bonus points, that particular assignment. And we've got the midterm coming up during that time period. Midterm week will be March 10th to about March 15th this spring semester. So that'll give you some opportunity to earn some extra credit during the semester. I'm not planning to do a midterm exam. I usually don't really give one. So I think the exam will be posted the next week, March 17th. You see that on the bottom there. But I'll probably have like some kind of makeup period I'll usually do, which I'll kind of announce sometime right before that week. Probably the week of Mardi Gras, I'll probably do that. But I usually don't give a midterm exam. So if you go into week 10, starting on Monday, March 17th, I will be posting a major assessment, which is the second exam, which is that it's going to be on primarily three things: French Revolution, Age of Napoleon, and then the 19th century, parts 1 and 2 lectures. So that'll cover from the French Revolution up to like the rise of socialism. Those will be pretty much the topics I'll have. Of course, the study guide sections for those. Hopefully you're using the study guides to prepare for exams and other quizzes, but that's the actual different topics that are on that exam itself. So French Revolution, Age of Napoleon, 19th century, like post-Napoleon Europe, and then rise of industrialization and socialism. So that'll be later due. I think that assignment's not due until April, but that's an assessment, probably one of the major assessments I'll have, probably one of the hardest ones because it's got so much information on that one. That's going to be later due more until like later in the semester in April. Don't forget you can turn in the study guides. That's optional, for bonus points. I think they're worth 40 bonus points. But whatever answers you have for those, you can turn those in and earn extra credit later in the semester. So that's not due till looks like Friday, May 9th during finals week, but you can see that's when it's due. Right, if you keep going down, also in that week 10, I'll be posting another lecture I'll have, a part 3 lecture on the 19th century, the rise of nationalism and imperialism, which are also major events that happen, which the Europeans are heavily involved in, which is like a major events that lead up to World War One. In fact, rise of nationalism in Europe, new imperialism like in the world, like in Africa and Asia, the Pacific, were actually major causes of why World War One ends up breaking out. So that's a part 3 lecture, which that's not on the second exam. So I'll later post that, which will be part of another Canvas quiz, which I'll kind of put with World War One lectures, which will be in week 11. So that will be assessed more into week 11. So if you have any comments, questions about those lectures, of course, that one right there, you can see there's a part 3 discussion section right there as well. If you keep going down, one more section, of course, week 11, I'll get to the last thing, of course, which is World War One. Talk about the major events and causes that lead into World War One, which is one of the 2 worst conflicts that happen in human history. Second most deaths, I guess, casualties in wars overall. World War II later, I'll of course have, which will be even bloodier. But I have 2 parts on that, like a 2-part series. Part 1, of course, you can see goes into like the background of how the war breaks out. You get, of course, assassination. The Archduke Ferdinand, Franz Ferdinand, is, of course, a major issue that leads to it. I go up to like 1960 with that part 1 lecture. And then part 2, I have a part 2 lecture, which covers like the Russian Revolution, its aftermath that leads to the formation of the Soviet Union. And then I do kind of talk up to the end of World War One with like the Treaty of Versailles. So that's basically the lectures for that. And like I said, that's going to be later assessed into week 11 with the 19th century part 3 lecture. So that particular quiz will have the rise of nationalism, imperialism, and then, of course, World War One. And I do kind of go into that, like into the World War One lecture. I kind of briefly talk about that a little bit at the beginning, but you should already have information on that before we cover that. So history, the lectures for that for World War One, there's a discussion section on that as well right there. So if you keep going down in modules, you can see, later into like the end of the semester, like weeks 12 to 16, I'll get more into like other events in history, like the rise of fascism between world wars. I'll get into World War II, so I've got a 2-part series lecture on that. And I do have a 2-part, well, I got a 1-part lecture series I think I've gotten in, one that's also a 2-part. I got different versions of that particular lecture. But I do have the Cold War era lectures also as well. That'll be more until like the end of the semester right there. So I'll talk about those and what you have to do with those assignment wise. But there'll be some later quizzes on that I'll have later. Reminders before I go with this, after I finish up this video, don't forget you have these vocab assignments due at the end of the semester. So make sure to, at least the first 3 need to be completed, of course, which you can, like I said, earn bonus if you turn them in early, like pretty much plus 10% bonus for turning them in early. So those are due at the end of the semester. And then don't forget about the book report. That's a major, of course, assignment. Of course, that has to be completed, which you can see that'll be due the week before spring break. I think spring break's right after I think that starts like April 18th. So you do have like another month or so to kind of work on that. But if you haven't told me, like what book you have read or started reading or whatever, you need to also do that too as well. So let me know, which book you chose, decide on, to do this research paper for that particular assignment overall. So I think it was like 2 students per book was allowed, whatever's on the book list. Of course, I've got right here. Going down like further, just real quick, don't forget study guides, of course, like, I should have already kind of finished or wrapped up like the first exam and quizzes that were on the study guide for that one. So you can go ahead and start turning those in right now. And then the later ones, you can turn those in whenever you finish those up. But like I said, you have until the end of the semester to, of course, complete all those assignments. So that's kind of like some basic information about where the course is at right now for History 1123. If you got any questions, of course, about the course, don't forget, you can email me, or of course, you also have Canvas discussions as well. That's it for this particular preview video for History 1123. If you got any comments and questions, of course, about the course, don't forget to email me, or as well, you can also go to Canvas discussion. So that's it. I'll, of course, see you later throughout the semester. So take care, everybody.